tracks. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
There's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. I love that song. I really do. One of these days, I'll get her back in the studio. We'll get our full-length song. If you haven't heard the full-length song and would like to hear it, let me know. I'll put it on at the end of this. It's hard to hear. It cuts in and out. She did a beautiful job. If you've ever wondered who that is, and yes, I think I'm the only person that goes live that has a theme song. Come on. It's actually something that sets me apart. That theme song was written for Trudging Together. It was written by my niece. She was 17 at the time. Okay. And she is a non-alcoholic. She is not an alcoholic. And she came up with it, even the full-length song. And I asked her, I'm like, how did you do this? I mean, she's not an alcoholic. She didn't really grow up in it. But she just has this empathy and this understanding. And she said, well, I've been listening to you, Uncle Dion. I'm like, well, hey, buddy, where you been? I haven't seen you all day. Where you been? Somebody's happy to see me. Okay, dude, I know. I love you too. I know I love you too. So we're going to read from the 12 by 12 today. We're going to talk about the 9th step. I have been refraining from coming on and talking or using this medium, this live to kind of put out some of my personal opinions and stuff, and I think I'm going to ease up on a lot of that and get back to the basics of what this is. And if I need to, maybe I'll just start a different one for people that want to, because not everybody cares about the fact that we need detoxes and things like that. That's not everybody else's concern. So, and I get it. And I tend to throw it in people's faces a lot. So calming down on that. Good to see you too, Chris. Good to see you too. Welcome to the Daily Trudge. I'm Dion. This is the double Daily Trudge. Maybe I should just come up with the double Daily Trudge too. What was nice is this font right here was actually the holiday font, but they kept it around. I think a lot of people liked it. I like it. It's a little more professional. There's actually a lot of things that I can do with this. Here, watch. Let's see here. Ooh. See, I could put stuff behind me, but it's very distracting to have this stuff behind you, right? Here we go. This is a decent one, but it doesn't match what I do. Maybe if my room was green. So, all right. I also do little overlays. Yay, overlays. Restream's big on Ukraine, so there's a bunch of Ukraine stuff on here. All right. So homies, we're going to be talking about the 9th step. All right. So before we get going, and you need to understand, okay, this book and this book, they go together. You're supposed to be using both of these, okay? Okay? Or you're probably not going to totally understand the 6th and 7th step till you get here. There's a lot in here. A lot that is not in here. Right? God we will discover more. Okay? Until when I have a sponsee, these are the only 2 books They are allowed to read until we are done with the steps. Period. And then we'll make living sober. I'll let you read. I know I'm kind. Dion, why won't you do that? Because then what they're going to do is they're going to go read self-help books, and what they need to do is go to meetings. That's why. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Before I get started, I'm going to let you know you're another. Yes. If you were in a abusive relationship and going back to that person is going to mean more abuse, then the answer is no to the fuck no. No. Now discuss this with your sponsor. Discuss it with somebody that has your best intentions at heart. Your best intentions. See, as a sponsor, I need to understand my sponsee's intentions. Because when I know their intentions, I can help them more. Okay. Good judgment, a careful sense of timing, courage, and prudence. These are qualities we shall need when we take step 9. What does prudence mean? It means to stick with it. Do I have my AA? Where's my AA dictionary? My AA dictionary. There it is. Let's look up prudence. AA. Prudence. Looking up prudence right now. Yep, that's what we're doing. I do. It's right here. Man, a lot of PR stuff. A lot of PRO. Prudent. There we go. Sensible in action and thought. Careful. Wise. So it is not what I thought it was. So, a sense of timing, courage, right? And prudence. Man, a careful sense of timing. That means we're going to do it on their terms, not ours. Okay? After we made a list of people we have harmed, have reflected carefully upon each instance, and have tried to possess ourselves in the right attitude in which to proceed, we will see that the making of these direct amends divides those who should approach these in several classes. All right? Hi, Michelle. It's you. There will be those who ought to be dealt with just as soon as we become reasonable, confident that we can maintain our sobriety. So, see, there's a condition there. Number one, has the obsession left? If the obsession is left, that is a great sign. Okay. Another good way to gauge, are the 9th-step promises starting to come true for you? Did the 3rd-step promises come true? Did the 5th-step promises come true? If so, then yeah, you are on the right path. There will be those whom we can make only partial restitution. Restitution usually means money. Less complete disclosures do them or others more harm than good. There will be other cases where action ought to be deferred, and still others in which the very nature of the situation, we shall never be able to make direct personal contact at all. I'm going to use my biological father for this. Okay, when I got sober this time, let's see, I'm 8 years. It was about 8 years ago that I actually talked to him for the first time. He has since passed. Okay. Now, why was my father on my biological father on my 9th step? Because I wanted to get in contact with him. I'm just going to be honest with you. I made up some things so that I could be mad at him, but I wasn't really mad at him. I talked some shit about him without knowing about him. Good enough. Okay, but he was remarried. And even though in my mind I felt justified because he's my dad, right? No. Okay. And he was married. She's still alive, I think. I don't know. I never got to know her. He passed. He passed with 50 years of sobriety. Okay. And I never got to know him. Now, I had to write him a letter directly because it was not for me to disrupt his family. It was not for me to disrupt his life, no matter how I felt about it. Okay. Most of us begin making certain kinds of direct amends from the day we join Alcoholics Anonymous. You all know what this is. If you listen to me at all, you know what we're talking about. We're talking about the living amends. Okay, which really doesn't cover in the big book. Here it is, though. That's why both of these are very, very important, I think. That is my opinion. Of course, not required. Yeah. The moment we tell our families that we're really going to try the program, the process has begun. In this area, there are seldom any questions of timing or caution. We want to come in the door shouting the good news. Great. So how do I describe this? I tell you, I tell my experience about how my sponsor said, Dion, I know you have shame and guilt. I can see it all over your face. And you're going to go in there and you're going to tell your wife, sorry, up, down, left, forward. Don't do it. You're going to fuck it up. Don't do it. Okay. We're going to do a living amends. After coming from our first meeting, or perhaps we have finished reading the book Alcoholics Anonymous, we usually want to sit down with some member of the family and readily admit the damage we have done by our drinking. Almost always, we want to go further and admit other defects that have made us hard to live with. Okay. Here's part of the problem. Number one, you have no idea what you're talking about yet. Okay. And getting into particulars is dangerous. Yep. Particulars will start fights. You remember that one time. See, now I'm getting specific. You know what I'm doing? I'm bringing up trauma. Nope. What does that do? That injures others. Gotta wait. Gotta wait. Yay! Bike ride. Over this last week, I've been watching all of you make progress. Every single person here right now. Yep. It's been cool. This will be a very different occasion and in sharp contrast with those hangover mornings when we alternate between reveling ourselves and blaming the family and everyone else for our troubles. At this first sitting, it is necessary only that we make a general admission of our defects. General admission. I'm an alcoholic and my behavior has been unacceptable. I need to change it. That's it. Because between you and I, that's the only truth you got at this point. It's the only truth I had at that point was step one. What was that? All right. It may be unwise at this stage to rehash certain harrowing episodes. Good judgment will suggest that we ought to take our time. While we may be quite willing to reveal the very worst, we must be sure to remember that we cannot buy our own peace of mind at the expense of others. Much the same approach will apply in the office or factory. All those factory jobs we have now. I worked in a factory when I was younger. My mom worked in a lot of factories. She worked in a dynamite factory once. Isn't that cool? Yeah, she made dynamite. I want that job. She worked overnights too and drank a lot. She had a lot of drinking, made a lot of dynamite. So it's my mom. We shall at once think of a few people who know all about our drinking who have been most affected by it. But even in these cases, we may need to use a little more discretion than we did with the family. I'm going to tell you something. Be careful. In the beginning, be careful. Until you have healed, until you have some strong boundaries, it's kind of, that's going to be up to you, of course. But be choosy on who you tell, because people will go out and talk shit. And before you know it, they're going to play telephone. It comes back around. It doesn't even sound the same. So here again, just become a better person each day. People will fucking notice. They will notice. But in our case, the only thing at this point in our case, the only thing that matters is action. Okay? The rest of it is the dubious luxury of other people. For us, if we do not do this, we will drink. And for us to drink is to die. Not just die, but to plummet ever, just to blast, explode everything around us. When I am drinking, I want to watch the world burn, and I will laugh at it. I don't like that person. We may not want to say anything for several weeks or longer. First, we will wish to be reasonably certain that we are on the AA beam. Then we are ready to go to these people to tell them what AA is and what we are trying to do. Against this background, we can freely admit the damage we have done and make our apologies. We can pay or promise to pay whatever obligation, financial or otherwise, we owe. The generous response of most people to such quiet sincerity will often astonish us. Even our severest and most justified cries will frequently meet us more than halfway on our first trial. I'm going to tell you why. Because they want justice too. They don't want conflict. You want conflict? I don't want conflict. I want fucking conflict. I want a drama, but not conflict. This atmosphere of approval and praise is apt to be so exhilarating as to put us off balance by creating an insatiable appetite for more of the same. It's a high. I'm going to tell you, the 9th step can give you a high. So elative, okay, that you just want to do more of it. Nope. What does it say? What does it say? Good judgment, a careful sense of timing. Okay. So we don't remain on the 9th step. We do a couple of them and then we move on while we are working on our 9th step. Okay. Because you're going to be doing the 9th step for the rest of your life. Because the only true amendment is change behavior, right? Right. So, you guys have heard me say I have relapsed more times because I'm excited. Yeah, and then he's like, well, that's my me too, Amber. Oh, you're welcome. I hope that you have a good dinner. Oh, you're still listening. Okay, sounds good. Love you. Amber says, I love that Dr. Bob told keep it simple. Yeah, and am I? I'm confusing the fuck out of the newcomers. All right. Writes the twin doesn't keep it simple. Do you find it confusing? I don't. But if you're on the 9th step, you're not a newcomer anymore. So, to each our own, though. And if you find it confusing, then why don't you let us know what helped you to unconfuse that? What made it simple for you? So that we can hear that. I'd love to hear that. Or maybe it will tempt us to disencouragement and pessimism. But if we have prepared ourselves well in advance, such reactions will not deflect us from our steady and even purpose. After taking this preliminary trial at making amends, we may enjoy such a sense of relief that we conclude our task is finished. We will want to rest on our laurels. Oh, I didn't think it was me. I love the 12 by 12. I don't think it complicates anything. I think it expands. But there again, it's to each their own, right? See, Amber gets to have that. It doesn't yet, you know. So, but I get what you're saying. Because and let's keep it clear, the big book was written by 100 people. 12 by 12 was written by Bill. Okay? So, yeah, let's keep that clear. Thank you, Amber. I appreciate you. Because there might be other people out there. They're like, yeah, Dion, that's kind of how I feel too, and that's cool. I appreciate the honesty. All right. We will want to rest our laurels. The temptation to skip the more humiliating and dreaded meetings that still remain may be great. We will often manufacture plausible excuses for dodging these issues entirely, or we may just procrastinate, telling ourselves the time is not yet, when in reality, we have already passed up many a fine chance to right a serious wrong. Let's not talk prudence while practicing evasion. So, what they're saying is stay consistent with it. That's what I thought prudent meant, but it didn't. You got to stay consistent. You got to clear that up. Okay. Then this is what happened to me is I went through and I cleared up my list. Okay. Then as I was going through life, God would present me with people that I didn't remember. Okay. There were a couple of officers. Okay. There was no reason for them to be on my 4-step. I hate them. Never, In fact, I loved these guys because they always helped. They always helped. Okay. Not me, my wife. Okay. They put me in detox and helped my wife. And one day we're in 7-Eleven and Chan's like, Dion, do you know who those police officers are? And I'm like, no. It's your dog. It's like, those are the police that used to come to our house all the time. So I went over and I made an amend, and it went like this. Hello, you probably don't remember me. My name is Dion. And you used to come to my house a lot because I drank a lot. And I wanted to say thank you for your time and what you did because it helped me get sober. And I am now sober. So I will no longer be wasting your time. And they said, you didn't waste our time. They didn't remember me, but they said, you didn't waste our time. But we're glad you're sober. No handshake either. Cops don't shake hands. Not usually. As soon as we begin to feel confident in our new way of life, I'm getting kind of tired. We're at 23. I'm gonna talk through this a little bit. By our behavior and example to convince those about us that are indeed changing for the better, it is usually safe to talk in complete frankness with those who have been seriously affected, even those who may only be a little or not aware of what we have done to them. The only exceptions we will make will be in cases where our disclosure would cause actual harm, physical harm. Sometimes mental harm can be in there too. You can mentally abuse somebody, okay? These conversations can begin in a casual or natural way, but if no such opportunity presents itself at some point, we will want to summon all of our courage, head straight for the persons concerned, and lay our cards on the table. We needn't wallow in excessive remorse before those we have harmed, but amends at this level should always be forthright and generous. We got 2 paragraphs left here. There can be only one consideration which should qualify our desire for complete disclosure of damage we have done. That will arise in the occasional situation where to make full revelation would seriously harm the one to whom we are making amends, or quite as important, other people. All right. May I have an ex-girlfriend, and maybe we're still really friendly or whatnot, right? I've had some friends that were girls, and they would just run and jump on me, and my girlfriends would get extremely jealous. Okay. See, if I'm going to arouse jealousy or other things, I really need to think about what I'm doing. I have to remember these people have moved on. Okay. Now, these are not excuses, but what I'm trying to get to is that you are an other. Cover this with your sponsor, because each situation is different. We cannot, for example, unload a detailed account of our extramarital adventures upon the shoulders of our unsuspecting wife or husband. And even in those cases where such matters must be discussed, let's try to avoid harming third parties, whoever they may be. It does not lighten our burden when we recklessly make the crosses of others heavier. Many a razor-edge question can arise in other departments of life where the same principles involved. Suppose, for instance, that we had drunk up a good chunk of our firm's money, whether by borrowing or on a heavily padded expense account. Man, I had a situation where I could have done this, and I could have gotten away with it too, easily. Everybody in the company, they would take the owner's card, and he's like, "Go get his breakfast," and they'd go to the bank and pull out $1,000. And they're like, "You should do that." I'm going to tell you, I considered it, but I didn't do it. And I'm glad. I'll tell you why. Because I'm still friends with that person, and I would owe them thousands of dollars. I have no idea how I'd be able to pay it back. Thank you, God. Thank you. Do we instantly confess our irregularities to the firm in the practical certainty that we will be fired and become unemployable? Well, if you become unemployable, what happens to your family, right? Are we going to be so rigidly righteous about making amends that we don't care what happens to the family and home? Do we lay the matter before our sponsor or spiritual advisor earnestly, asking God's help and guidance? Meanwhile, resolving to do the right thing when it becomes clear, cost what it may. Of course, there is no pat answer which can fit all such dilemmas, but all of them do require a complete willingness to make the amends as fast and as far as may be possible in a given set of conditions. Above all, we should try to be absolutely sure that we are not delaying because we are afraid. For the readiness to take the full consequences of our past acts and to take responsibility for the well-being of others at the same time is the very spirit of step 9. Yeah. So I like this, to take the readiness of the full consequences of our past acts. I was talking to a sponsee earlier, and he's living in a house where he doesn't really want to live right now. And he's going to be there for a little bit, right? But he knows the amount of time. And what I talked to him about was, that sometimes we still pay the consequences of our past actions. And what we talked about was, hey, I've been drinking for 10 years, so that is part of the consequences. And I said, this is one of your consequences for your drinking, man, and you're going to have to accept it. That changed his mind. That changed his mind on how he felt about it. Then he's like, well, that makes more sense because he's willing to take responsibility for his actions. Now he doesn't need to be mad about it. And he'll be a better neighbor. He'll be a better ex-husband, a better father. That's the main thing. He doesn't like being so far away from his kids. And I can appreciate that. I can. All right. Thank you, everybody, for letting me gab another 30 minutes. I appreciate it. I hope you all have a great day. And yeah, I love you. Peace out and have a day.